Hi, good morning. Chris Randall here. Thanks for logging in, right? Joining the webinar. Obviously, have a pretty good sizable group of folks in the process of still attending. So my thought is we'll kind of give everybody a couple more minutes to get logged in, and then we can kick this off. So if you want to just hold tight and be patient, we'll get rolling here shortly. Thank you. All right, well, let's get this rolling. I think we have a quorum, right? So again, thank you very much for joining us for the Symmetry CompleteView update. Super proud to have Brian Carl join us today to share some of the latest features and capabilities for CompleteView with a live demo. We'll be touching on obviously some bandwidth management items, as well as analytics, and then previewing some of the new features that will be coming out in the next release. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the video off, but did want to personally thank you for joining, and actually two other things, right? So one is there should be a chat feature in the presentation. So please post questions there, and we'll circle back to those. And then secondly, there's also some prizes for attendance. So thanks for joining for that. And we'll have a AMAG pullover and two $100 gift certificates. So we'll be doing a random drawing after the presentation, and then reaching out to the individual winners. So again, thanks for joining. Brian, I'll let you take the wheel from here. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you so much, Chris, and good day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Symmetry CompleteView Update webinar. If anybody has a question during the course of the event, please type that into the questions box or the chat box. We'll cover those at the end of the webinar today. We're also recording the webinar, so we'll be sharing the recording. If you have a colleague that was unable to attend but would benefit from the information, we would encourage you to share that now. Since you are on viewing live, as Chris mentioned, we have a few prizes that we'll be giving away at random, and we'll reach out to the winners at the end of the webinar. So let's get to it. I'm going to cover some background information on Symmetry CompleteView for those of you who may not be as familiar with AMAG's video surveillance platform offerings. It is an enterprise capable platform. It's deployed in many installations, some of which have tens of thousands of cameras globally. So very, very robust offering. And we're going to do a live demonstration of the product. So stay tuned for that. Okay. So again, for those who may not be as familiar, AMAG obviously core product and technology is a fantastic symmetry access control system. But there's also a fantastic video surveillance platform called Symmetry CompleteView. And Symmetry CompleteView is a hybrid video management system. That means it connects to both IP cameras as well as analog cameras directly without needing third-party encoder technology. When I talk a little bit about that. And to complement the hybrid VMS, there's also a series of what we call Symmetry Power Protect, which are hybrid network video recorders. Okay, so you pair these two together, and AMAG offers the entire recording platform. So you have a single point of support and integration for your whole security technology program. Now, a little bit about Symmetry CompleteView. There are a number of distinguishing capabilities of the product and some of the cornerstones of what's made it so successful. It's both easy to use and it's easy to deploy. Those are extreme important considerations this day and age. Your video surveillance platform is only as good as the feature sets the operators of that system can take advantage of, right? You can deploy the most complex, fancy video surveillance platform in the world, but it does you no good if the person sitting in front of that doesn't know how to leverage those features and capabilities. We've put a lot of effort in designing the most easy to use interface, we believe. We back that up with some extraordinary training options, both instructor-led and options that allow you to go at your own self-pace over the internet. And it's easy to deploy. It's easy to design, easy to deploy. Pull a single stream from the camera. We use a feature called dynamic resolution scaling. You'll see that as bullet 4 on the slide to reduce bandwidth consumption. Makes it super, super simple to set up. Installation is what I call a click next type deployment. So it's open architecture platform. This is so important. You don't want to be locked into a single vendor, especially for a video surveillance system. There's a myriad of cameras offered by different best-of-breed camera manufacturers in the marketplace. And you don't want to be locked into a single vendor because a different vendor may provide the camera that works best in your particular lighting conditions or provides the correct level of range or the best bandwidth and storage consumption with perhaps enhanced H.264 capability, right? So those are important considerations. Symmetry CompleteView integrates with all the major manufacturers and then some. And we're very proud because these are not just on-VIF integrations. Symmetry CompleteView Enterprise supports on-VIF. It supports pulling direct RTSP streams, so it can integrate with literally any camera out there. However, there's probably around 100 different manufacturers and thousands of individual camera products where we have direct driver integrations to maximize the capability of each camera that's brought into the system. But not only is it open architecture, it's also a unified solution. This product is deeply integrated with the access control platform. You put those solutions together along with the other solutions that AMAG offers, and you can have an entire security program built around a leading provider technology. Dynamic resolution scaling, the next bullet down on the slide number 4 there, this is an awesome and unique feature to Symmetry CompleteView, the end result of which is extraordinary bandwidth savings. So if you have a surveillance deployment where you need to perform remote monitoring or remote investigations and you're concerned about bandwidth consumption, or you just want to get the best performance, pull back the most video feeds simultaneously, do so at the highest frame rate and highest quality, dynamic resolution scaling is going to be second to none in the industry. I'm going to show you how that works here. And then it's an enterprise solution, as I mentioned, tens of thousands of cameras deployed across the globe. In fact, Symmetry CompleteView Enterprise really stands out very well. It It scales from very small systems all the way up to enterprise systems, but it particularly stands out well in higher camera count and more geographically distributed deployments because of some capabilities like dynamic resolution scaling that provide such a better experience for remote viewing and remote monitoring. Okay. To expand on the open architecture of the platform, again, it's integrated with leading camera manufacturers. And these are not just ONVIF integrations, these are direct driver integrations, right? So ONVIF is fantastic and allows wide range camera support. It doesn't necessarily go as deep as a direct driver integration. In fact, at the end of the demonstration, we're going to come back into the slideshow. I'm going to show you some of the deepest integrations, camera integrations with Symmetry CompleteView that even leverage on-camera analytics. And that segues us to the next bullet here. Video analytics, license plate recognition, other types of video-oriented technologies can be integrated with Symmetry CompleteView and really transform that video that you take into actionable intelligence. It's one of the biggest considerations. You know, I talk a lot about how you know, trends in video surveillance system. Numbers of cameras deployed always increase, right? When's the last time you heard somebody say, oh, the camera in the hallway broke down, but we're not going to replace it because nothing ever happens there? That doesn't ever happen. People are always adding cameras to their system. And then the cameras that you add to the system become higher and higher resolution, right? So you have more cameras and more data per camera. You're taking in all this data, but how do you do something with it that allows you to proactively prevent security incidents in your security program? Technologies like video analytics, like alarm-based monitoring, license plate recognition, things of that nature really help you take your system to the next level, and all that capability is available with the platform. And then furthermore, there's an SDK available for third-party integrations. We make the process very easy. So if there's a system that is not integrated today, we'd love to hear from you about that and make sure that it gets integrated into the platform. And then in terms of the combined solution from AMAG, we have a deep integration with both the Symmetry Access Control platform as well as the Control Room platform. There's some both feature set and economic advantages of using the Symmetry CompleteView video system in combination with Symmetry Access Control as an example. The system is super easy to design and easy to deploy. We covered that in part earlier. But one of the things that makes it so easy to design, when you're designing a video surveillance system, the most difficult and risky part of the process is, what are my minimum hardware requirements to support a particular camera and recording configuration, right? You need to make sure you have the hardware available to record the amount of video that you want to record and to support the amount of cameras that you want to take into the system. We have the Symmetry Design Tool Wizard. It is as the name implies, it's a wizard, a step-by-step process that takes you through building out your system, gives you several choices of different hardware platforms, right? Some people may want a more concentrated platform with fewer servers. Some people may be more cost sensitive. We put that all right in front of you with the Symmetry Design Tool Wizard. So super, super easy to design projects, and we are always standing behind this to support you. So if you just want to tell us what your camera configuration is, we can produce a design. Just contact us at AMAG, and we'll connect you with your regional sales professional. Some of the key features, this is the last slide before we get into a live demonstration of the product. These are key features we added just in 2020. This is just to reinforce the fact that the platform is constantly evolving and constantly improving. We added support for H.265-based cameras. We added ONVIF Profile S capability. I talked about how we have direct driver integration. The ONVIF integration is also a very deep integration. You can do things like pull events and analytics off of an ONVIF integrated camera, so we're very proud of that. We have a video wall capability. I'm going to show you a demonstration of that today. It's very difficult to demonstrate a video wall over a webinar, so stay tuned to see how we accomplish that. We have failover capability built into the product. That's right, if you have multiple recording servers or a single recording server, and it's important to make sure it stays up and running, you can deploy another system, another piece of hardware, and any system that goes down will fail over to it, and it will be seamless for clients connected and also cameras recording to the platform. We added a feature called ProxyCast. I talked about dynamic resolution scaling and how it gives you a second to none performance in terms of bandwidth savings in video management. ProxyCast takes it to another level. I'm going to explain what that feature is. If you're familiar with multicast, ProxyCast is very similar to that capability. If you have lots of clients connecting to a single site, we dramatically reduce the bandwidth even further with ProxyCast, but without the cost and complexity of the equipment and configuration involved in multicast. And then we have enhanced the encrypted communication. So for those high security enterprise deployments, we have a extremely secure platform built into Symmetry CompleteView 2020. Okay, so let's break out of the presentation and we'll go into a live demonstration. So your screen should update here, and what you're looking at is a live view of Symmetry CompleteView, and we're looking at one particular module called the Live View module, okay? So in the Live View module, as the name implies, this is where you view your cameras live. I'm actually going to take you out of this mode here for a second. We're going to go to the home screen. This is where you start in the product. So after a user logs into the desktop client, they're presented with this screen. You can see the product is broken down into 6 functional areas. Across the top, you have dashboard, configure, and maintenance. These are going to be your administrative functions. So depending upon the permissions of your user account, you may or may not see all of these capabilities. Everything is configurable down to an extremely granular level at the user or group level in the product. So dashboard is where you perform your health monitoring. And health monitoring in Symmetry CompleteView is extremely granular and extremely detailed. You can not only get notifications, but you can pull reports out of the system on everything from cameras that may have gone down for troubleshooting purposes to, if there's problems with volumes or recording. You can see the CPU performance of the system. You can get every granular detail of what individual users have done and at what time, what cameras they pulled, what recordings they pulled, all out of the system in the dashboard feature. Configure, as the name implies, is where you configure the system. And I've talked a few times about how Symmetry CompleteView is an enterprise platform. Well, it really comes together very well in the configure and the maintenance module. So the system, even if you have many, many sites, all with their own individual camera recording servers, you can see the system as if it were a whole and perform configuration tasks across multiple sites simultaneously. So very simple and fast to bring even a large system up and running, or to perform maintenance and reconfiguration over a large system. And segueing off of that theme, in the maintenance area, this is where you can pull reports, set up logging, and also perform software updating in Symmetry CompleteView. In fact, one of the unique features that makes it so well suited for, again, large geographically distributed deployments is available in maintenance. And that is the ability to perform software updating centrally and across multiple systems or multiple sites simultaneously. So unlike other video management systems, with Symmetry CompleteView, you can come into maintenance, select all your sites, and you can blast a software update out to them over the network. This makes the process of patching so much faster in Symmetry CompleteView than with other video management systems. And if you think about the most time-intensive task with managing a large and distributed video management platform across your enterprise, it's really patching and maintenance, right? Deploying those updates. Once you have the system configured, it's probably pretty well set most of the time, but every quarter we're coming out with new releases. You want to get those new features and updates, new camera support, or security fixes, right? And those all are easy to deploy via the maintenance. Once you deploy the update to the different sites, the recording servers, the next time a client logs in to view video or perform an investigation, it can be set up to check its version against what's deployed on the server. And if that client instance is out of date, it will actually pull and install the update automatically. So literally one action updates all your clients and servers system-wide. Very powerful feature. Down at the bottom are the user functions: live view, alarm view, and playback. So of course, playback, this is where you perform investigations. I'm going to show you some cool features there. Some very detailed investigative capabilities are built in to this product. Alarm view and live view is where you perform live monitoring of the system. And we're going to spend a lot of time in live view. Alarm view, by comparison, gives you kind of a dark screen display, right? You can see a few panels. They're not populated by video. The panels populate with video only when there's activity detected on that corresponding camera. So somebody walks through the door, the Symmetry access control system detects that, tells the Symmetry CompleteView system, and that video feed pops up showing you the visual verification of that access control event, or motion is detected, or an analytic occurs. So the benefit here is if you have lots of cameras to monitor and you're trying to perform some live monitoring and proactive incident response, it's a lot easier to pay attention just to the cameras with activity than to try to figure out what's happening in a sea of all of the cameras that you're viewing at the same time on the screen, right? So alarm view can be a very strategic way to have better live monitoring operations. So let's start the demo in the live view area. And I just want to orient you with what you see on the screen. So over on the left-hand side here, follow the mouse as I go through the demo. So you can see the mouse moving on the left side of the screen here. This is a navigation panel, okay? So in this navigation panel at the top, I see my maps, my views, and video walls. And again, I'll show you video walls here in a little bit. So this should be, you can have as many views, as many maps as you want built into the system. You can also organize them by folders. So oftentimes folders are created in the system to represent geographies of where locations are, right? So I might start off with Texas, and underneath Texas I may have Austin, and then underneath Austin I have site 1, site 2, site 3, and I can organize all my views and maps in that hierarchy. So that's built right into the product. As I switch between views, you'll see the updates to the cameras, and we can create views in any sets or shapes that we want to, no limitation on the number of cameras that you can have built into a view. You can mix and match cameras from different sites or different recording servers all into the same view. So again, the deployment is seamless. And all the while we're benefiting, as we view this live video in the center of the screen here, from the dynamic resolution scaling capability. So give me a second, I'll come back to that. But if you look further down this navigation panel, you'll see customs and favorites. We've talked about how Symmetry CompleteView is a very easy to use platform. One of the considerations when designing the product is how is the user going to navigate it? So we built in various ways that users can optimize their navigation. And if you think of a large deployment that have lots of cameras, lots of sites, lots of views, there may be a few areas that are more important to identify and maintain. So we have a favorites area where you can quickly identify your favorite views. In fact, I'm going to right click on this view and I'm going to open it in a new tab. And this segues me to another navigational benefit of the product, which is the tabbed interface. So if you look in the center of the screen here where all the video views are, up at the top you'll see that there's two tabs. Office, this is the view that we were just looking at, and integrations. Now if I have a few individual cameras and views I want to flip between, it's much easier to open them in tabs and flip between them this way up here as opposed to scrolling up and down the list. In fact, I'll show you another example here. Before I do that, right above favorites is custom. I can create my own custom views and maps if I have the permission to do so directly in the interface as a user. Underneath servers and cameras, I have 3 sites here. Again, these can all be organized into folders as I described before. Across these 3 recording servers, as I expand them, you'll see I have just a ton of cameras. As I mouse over a camera, I get a little thumbnail live video view, so it's very easy to identify what camera corresponds to what I want to see in the software. Now, if I'm looking for an individual camera, you can see I'm scrolling through the list here. It's very easy to miss what I'm looking for. Built in throughout the interface of Symmetry CompleteView is a search capability. You'll see this everywhere. In fact, you see it right up here. You'll see it up at the top here so that you can search whatever you want. I can choose what I want to search. Maybe I want to search different regions. Those would be the folders. I want to search individual cameras or recording servers. So I'm going to search for, let's say, the front door camera. So I'll type the word front in here. And it does a keyword search across all the text built in this case, to the name of the camera. And there's my front door. So it took that list of 70 to 80 cameras and it narrowed it down to the one camera it's looking for in an instant. Again, I'll right click and I'm going to open that in a new tab. I haven't lost track of the view that I was looking at, right? And now if I want to flip in between the views, one of the things I want you to notice as we're going through the demo here is how quickly these different cameras pop up. These are all very, very high resolution cameras. I am not local to the site. I'm connected to this over the internet. Even still with the dynamic resolution scaling, we're able to have that benefit of fast video call up, right? High performance. Over on the right side here, I have a map. You have a couple of different kinds of maps in the Symmetry CompleteView. This is a satellite map, and I'm using a Bing satellite map. You can see I can zoom out as far as I want to. I'm still hovered over a camera here, so we see the live view of the camera. And you can have all your sites represented across the globe, and then drill down to those sites and see the camera locations. As I hover over with my mouse, I can see the live video views of all the different cameras here. So I use the satellite map for my perimeter cameras, and then below that, I have a inside view, a floor plan of the facility. So you can hyperlink maps together and navigate your entire security system through a series of hyperlinked maps. One of the cool things about maps is it will show you activity in the system. So you see these field of view cones. That's a representation of what the camera is able to observe. So you know not only where the cameras are physically located in relation to the facility that you're monitoring, but you have an idea of the camera's range and angle. So now you can see what am I able to observe with those cameras, right? If I have activity on a camera, even a camera on a lower level map, I'll trigger activity on a camera here, you will have a cone flash, or even so here I triggered activity on this front door camera here. So you see the field of view cone of that camera flashes yellow to indicate activity. And also there's activity on a camera in a lower level map, and now you can see that map hyperlink is flashing yellow. So this helps direct my attention as an operator of the system to where the activity is. Now I can double click. I've navigated down to the floor plan of the office here, and I can see there's activity on this camera, and I can hover over with my mouse and identify what that activity is. All the while that's taking place, we have this events window down at the bottom here. This events window, as the name implies, shows me all the events that have taken place associated with cameras. If I want to see access control events, again, here's the search function. I'll type in a keyword. I'm just going to type in AMAG, and it shows me I've had a couple of AMAG record requests. And I can come back to the video tab over here and actually review the video. So somebody badged into the reader on the outside of that door and then walked in, and here I'm reviewing the video of that to make sure that that's an authorized person. So we got a little whiteout on that camera. That again speaks to how important it is to support multiple cameras, so I can have a camera that maybe has better wide dynamic range for this type of deployment. But nevertheless, you get the picture here. I can go back to the events window. Maybe I want to see the previous one. I'll flip back to the video tab. I'm still keeping an eye on the live video feeds that I need to pay attention to, but I'm actually able to review event-based recordings directly in this interface, right? Another navigational benefit of the software. So there, the AMAG system, the access control system, caught the person walking out of the door in that instance, and we're able to visually verify that directly in the video management interface. So very tightly integrated system. All types of events come into this, this interface here. So we may have face detection events and other types of analytics pop up over time, but the search feature allows me to filter to those individual event types, really giving you that integrated solution feel. Okay, I want to show you a little bit about dynamic resolution scaling. So I've talked about how it's a bandwidth saving feature. I've talked about how it's second to none in the industry, but what is it? So good question. So take a look at this video view here. The screen that I have Symmetry CompleteView displayed on is 1080p resolution. So 1080p display screen is 2 megapixels of display resolution. And I'm displaying the cameras in a fraction of that 1080p screen, right? So maybe about half the screen resolution, maybe not quite half, is devoted to displaying cameras. Well, all of these cameras on the screen are very high resolution cameras. In fact, I think they're all, in this case, access cameras, and I can tell what the resolution is just based upon the model number here. So this one ends in an 8. I believe that's a 5 megapixel camera. Here's another 5 megapixel camera. This is a 4K camera. You can see the model number ends in a 9 there. Here's another 5 megapixel camera. So just with these 4 cameras at the bottom, we got 5, 10, 15, 23 megapixels, 28 megapixels. I forget what the 6 is. Maybe that's a 3 megapixel. So let's say 31 megapixels of video being displayed in about a 1 megapixel area on the screen. So obviously that's too much video to fit on the screen. So what happens in every single video management platform is when the video gets transmitted from the remote site where the server is to the client, that video has to get shrunk to fit on the screen. So the video is decoded from its compressed format, a whole bunch of the pixels are thrown away, and what's left over is displayed on the screen. That's the same process that occurs in all video management platforms, the scaling operation. What Symmetry CompleteView does differently than every other VMS is instead of performing the scaling operation at the client, it's performed on the recording server. So that means if you're monitoring a remote site, the video has been scaled before it transmits over the internet to wherever you're viewing it. And that's what results in the tremendous bandwidth savings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to superimpose some overlays on the video. And these overlays show us two things. Down in the lower right-hand corner, this overlay shows us the stream coming out of the camera being recorded as Symmetry CompleteView. And if you can see that on the screen here, it says bit rate, and this is specifically the top left camera. Bit rate is 3642 kilobits per second. Now in the center of the screen, there's another overlay. And this overlay tells us the properties of the video stream coming from that recording server to the client that I'm viewing it on. And in this case, the dynamically scaled stream, the bit rate of that stream is 148 kilobits per second. So we went from about 3,600 kilobits per second to 150 kilobits per second. So that's doing the math real quick in my head here, but that's a huge savings in bandwidth. I can't figure out on the fly what the savings is there, but pretty tremendous. Another example below that, the original video stream, 1,700 kilobits per second. The dynamically scaled video stream, 24 kilobits per second. That is a 70 times savings. So the bit rate of the camera video feed coming to the client is 70 times less than the original bit rate from the camera. Below that, in this kitchen scene, the original video stream, 2,232 kilobits per second. The dynamically scaled stream, 39 kilobits per second. I can go on and on and on. This effect is, of course, repeated throughout the display. The higher the camera resolution, the better the effect is. In fact, I have to zoom in a little bit on this one to give you an idea. But this 8 megapixel, this 4K camera, 6,200 kilobits per second, dynamically scaled version, 61 kilobits per second. That's about 100, is that right? About 100 times savings on bandwidth. So very impressive. As I digitally zoom, typically when you digitally zoom in a video management platform, the video management system, again, sends the full resolution of the camera, the full field of view of the camera. However, on screen, you're only viewing a fraction of that field of view, right? So you crop out some of the field of view of the camera. So take a look at the full field of view here. You have this entryway door to the kitchen. You have the refrigerator. You have a counter, a coffee maker, a couple of tables over here. You have a table in the center. There's a phone on this wall here. But as I zoom in order to show more pixels in the zoom area, I have to crop away some of the detail, or some of the field of view of the camera. So none of that stuff that I mentioned is now viewable, but the display area that I have is now dedicated to this mission statement sign. I'm able to read the text on the mission statement sign as I zoom in. It says, embracing the power of security for a safer world. But because I'm not seeing those other pixels, it would be a waste to transmit them over the network. And that's another benefit of dynamic resolution scaling. It even works when you digitally zoom in. So again, the recording server at the remote site is sending us just these pixels, just this area of the field of view, that you see on screen here. Okay, so that's a little overview of dynamic resolution scaling. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about the newest bandwidth saving feature in Symmetry CompleteView. Okay, and that's called ProxyCast. So I'm going to call up a video which kind of shows you the data flow in a video surveillance system. ProxyCast makes a huge difference on bandwidth when you have a remote site with low bandwidth. So check this out. I have a remote site, low bandwidth. Here's your Symmetry CompleteView server. We have 4 cameras at the site. Now, we have remote clients viewing each of the 4 cameras here. So you can see there's 4 video streams going to this remote client. There's 4 video streams coming to this client and 4 going to that client, okay? So this is without ProxyCast. All that video comes across the network. The important point to take away from this section of the video is there's 12 video streams coming out of this low bandwidth remote site. That can overwhelm the site. Now what we do is we introduce a ProxyCast server. This is built into Symmetry CompleteView. What the ProxyCast server does is it pulls a single stream from each of these cameras. So instead of 12 streams coming out of the low bandwidth site, we have only 4 streams coming out of the low bandwidth site. It then replicates those streams to each of the clients that are connected simultaneously, right? So in this case, instead of 12 streams, we have 4 streams. So it took the bandwidth impact on the site down to 1/3 of what it was without the ProxyCast server. So very important feature set. Again, it's similar in concept to multicasting. However, it doesn't involve all the setup of IGMP-based equipment, the expensive network equipment that's technically complicated to set up. It's just built right into the product. So very cool capability. So we talked a little bit about live viewing and navigating the live view. I want to take you to some investigative capabilities in the product. There are 4, maybe 5 ways to investigate video natively in the product. I'm going to right-click on a camera here. You see there's a right-click menu. This will come up with any camera that you click on. And if I come down to recorded video, I can review video in a timeline. So this allows me to, this is a kind of a traditional playback feature where you can play all the video in a timeline. You can play back a single or multiple cameras. I can also search by list. This is great if I have analytics or other integrations built in the system. or I can search by thumbnails. Also, if I search by list, I can do a smart search, which allows me to search for motion in just an area of the camera's field of view across the recorded video. What I'm going to do is search by thumbnails, and we're going to try to figure out when that truck showed up in the parking lot. Very cool feature. So what happens when I choose search by thumbnails is Symmetry CompleteView calls up the last 24 hours of video from the camera and presents it to me as a series of 1-hour chunks. So each of these thumbnails that's calling up on the screen is the first image from that hour of video. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the thumbnails here so we have a larger display. And what I'm going to do is scroll down the list. I'm going to look for the truck. There's the truck. Okay, so the truck was present at 10 a.m. So this thumbnail represents 10 to 11 a.m. So that means it showed up sometime between 9 and 10 a.m. So I'm going to take this 1-hour video and split it. And now I'm splitting it into 5-minute chunks. And I'm going to scroll up here until I can't see the car anymore. Okay, so the car was present at 9:05 a.m. That means it showed up sometime right before 9:05 a.m. So I'm going to take that 5-minute chunk, split it into 30-second chunks. And there's the car, so that means it pulled in right here. So let's take a look at that video clip. And here's the truck coming in. So if you take a step back and think about what we just did, we took a 24-hour period of video, and with only 3 clicks of the mouse, we were able to hone in on the exact moment we wanted to find with Symmetry CompleteView. So very, very powerful investigative features. From this interface, I can choose video that I want to export, so I can start right there, and I'll hit the checkbox. All of my exported clips are held in what we call the export queue, so you can see that up here. And here's the clip that I specified. I can play again. Now I can move to another area of the software, perform a different playback feature, and I won't lose track of this clip as I continue to build my investigation. So very cool set of capabilities. Before we go on with some more of that stuff, I want to go back to live view, and I want to show you an advanced mapping capability. Oftentimes, in particular with organizations that have lots of cameras, you may identify a suspect that you want to follow through a facility. We have a feature built into our maps function called Geoview. What it allows me to do in essence is I can select cameras on a map and create a new view layout on the fly. So I just selected 4 cameras on the map, and I created a fresh view layout. This was not pre-configured for me, and it almost, it took no time at all. It was instantaneous. But what happens is, by grouping together cameras that are geographically close to each other, if somebody walks in this front door and then comes down this hall, I've just created a view layout where I can track them through the facility. So very cool set of functionality. Here's a video demonstration of that in action. Okay, so you see there's our suspect, and now follow the mouse on the right side of the screen. You can see the Geoview layout being created. And there it is. It's a layout that involves 8 cameras, and there's our suspect. And since all these cameras are located next to each other, and then you can see the suspect has crossed into new camera view, I'm able to track that person. There the person is on another camera view very easily throughout the facility. And finally, you'll see that they show up in the kitchen. So this is a very powerful feature. It leverages the fact that you've pre-created or pre-configured the location of cameras on a map, and uses that information that's built into the system to track suspects. Very, very powerful capability. One of the other things I want to show you before we move on to some questions and wrap up the presentation is a video wall capability. And by the way, on that topic, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and type them into the questions box. We'll be covering those at the end of the presentation. So take a moment, type a couple questions in. If you have a question, somebody else probably has the same question too. One of the other capabilities in the Symmetry CompleteView Enterprise is a video wall capability. So before I show you a demonstration of this, I just want to kind of explain the feature. So, imagining your mind's eye, you have your security operations center, and there's literally a wall of monitors, right? All of those monitors are probably not connected to the same computer. There might be a quad capable display computer that handles 4 out of some set of monitors on a video wall, right? And With the video wall capability in Symmetry CompleteView, what you can do is, using a single Symmetry CompleteView client, push view layouts, cameras, or maps up to individual monitors, even if they're on separate physical computers, across a video wall. So that's what the capability does. Let's take a look at that in action. Here's a video demonstration. So here's a live recording, or it was a live recording of a video wall in action. You can see 16 displays in this video wall. You see the operator in the foreground there, and that person is dragging and dropping view layouts, maps, and cameras, and you can see it here. Here's the screen recording that corresponds to what's happening. So there's a digital representation of the physical video wall. As you drag and drop items onto the video wall, they appear on the actual corresponding monitor connected to a corresponding computer. So very, very cool sets of functionality. You can control the displays up to 60 monitors total. You can have as many video walls as you want. In fact, another application for the video wall is to use it as a sharing tool. So imagine you had a scenario where there's an operator in the Security Operations Center monitoring live video, and they want to push video to a security director's screen. That person may be off in a separate office. You can set up one monitor on the security director's screen as a video wall and push video to it. It pops up on the screen. You call them on the telephone and say, hey, take a look at this suspicious character. I want to know what you think we should do. So it's a great collaboration and video sharing tool as well, and that comes built into the product. One of the other things I want to talk about, this is a feature that we added earlier in the year in Symmetry CompleteView, is failover. So for those systems that require continuous, guaranteed 24/7 operation, there's a failover capability. What I'm going to do is click on a Symmetry CompleteView recording server. So I had just navigated to the configure section of Symmetry CompleteView. I have administrative privileges. And if I choose a recording server, you can see all of my recording servers here. I can expand that. You can see all the settings underneath it. But on this main screen where I have some health monitoring and statistical information, there's a whole bunch of panels. And one of the panels, in fact, this panel down in the lower left-hand corner, is the failover panel. And this is where I can configure that this server can fail over to another server. Okay, it's very, very simple to set up. So I'm just going to add a failover server. I specify the IP address and a shared storage volume path. So there it is, shared storage / video recordings. What happens in a failover situation is the primary server goes offline. The Symmetry CompleteView management server detects that, and then if that primary recording server is set up to fail over to a standby server, the management server tells the standby server, here's the camera configuration you need to take over. That standby server then takes over any connected clients to continue displaying live video, and it also takes over recording of all the cameras that were recording to the failed server. It stores that recorded video on this shared storage. So the second the primary server comes back up, it has access not only to the recordings that are physically located on the box itself, but also the recordings on the shared storage. So there's no process that has to take place where you have to synchronize the failover recordings with the primary server's recorded video database. It's all automated in the setup. Really, really a smart way to go about it. So there it is. I just configured failover. I can test it by manually failing over with this button here, and then I can restore. In fact, there's a lot of capability built in here. There are scenarios under which, let's say your primary server goes down, and you need to restore to a physically different server, maybe with a different IP address, a different license setup. So I can come over to this tab, and I can restore to a different server by specifying that over here. So I may have physically replaced that server, maybe have a different IP scheme for the server, different credentials. You can specify all those details here and basically restore to a brand new server if that ends up being your situation. So very well thought out feature. That is built into Symmetry CompleteView Enterprise. So let's go back to Alarm View here, and I just want to show you this capability. I mentioned it earlier in the presentation. Alarm View is great if you have a whole bunch of cameras that you're monitoring, but limited personnel to monitor them with. So if you've come across any of those studies that have been done about, human attention span and being able to identify specific pieces of information out of large groups of information, it's very, very difficult for people to pay attention to a large volume of video feeds and discern that one particular camera has activity taking place. You can go onto YouTube and type in selective attention tests, and this kind of gives you an idea of how difficult it is for people to figure out what to pay attention to. So what AlarmView does is it monitors all the cameras in my Symmetry CompleteView deployment in the background. And when the camera has activity, you can see this camera coming up here, only when a camera has activity does it call the live video from that camera up. So instead of trying to pay attention to 70 cameras, I'm paying attention just to the one camera where activity is taking place. I'm using the system to intelligently filter out cameras where, it's an empty hallway or an empty room, and I don't really need to be paying attention to those areas. So I can focus my full attention on what's happening on the camera with activity, and do I need to respond to that incident, right? And you see that in this upper left panel. This is where the live video from the camera displays. So the second there's activity, you can see that camera caught motion, that somebody's walking down the hallway. Second there's activity, live video pops up there. Below that, in the lower left panel, is the events panel. Again, search capabilities built in. You'll find that everywhere in the product. I see a list of all the events that have taken place since I launched the alarm client across all of my cameras. I can call those events back up by simply clicking on them, and I get to see the live view side by side with the recording of the incident that triggered the alarm view in the first place, right? So I can continue to watch the event unfold live, and that's all in the lower right panel. Now, very cool feature, in the top right panel, you have a map view. So if the camera with activity is also displayed on a map, the alarm view will switch to that map where the camera is located. So now I can see not just the live view from the camera up here, I get a reference with details of what triggered the alarm view in the first place. I can see side by side, live and recorded. I can also see on the map where that camera is physically located in relation to the deployment that I'm monitoring, right? So I have all the information on one screen at one time that I need to discern what is happening and whether to respond to it and where to respond to it, all on one screen. So very, very powerful set of capabilities in Symmetry CompleteView. Okay, so that covers what I wanted to show in the demonstration. We're going to go back into the presentation here, and then we're going to get into QA in a second. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the open platform integrations and more specifically analytics. This is a hot topic these days. One of the benefits of Symmetry CompleteView, not just a powerful platform on its own, but it also integrates with a lot of best of breed technologies, and in particular, best of breed analytics technologies. So this is a listing of what I call server-based analytics that integrate with Symmetry CompleteView. You have AI Argus. That, just to give you a brief description, this is an analytic that monitors camera quality. So if you have a large number of cameras, this could be a huge benefit to you. The system monitors the cameras to make sure the field of view position of the camera hasn't changed, but the camera's not out of focus, it hasn't been obstructed in any way, it hasn't been spray painted over, and it gives you reports to make sure that all of your cameras are at their maximum quality as you intended to have them deployed and providing video to your system. This is a common concern, especially with larger, higher camera count deployments. AnyVision, fantastic facial recognition product. It's important to distinguish facial recognition from face detection. In fact, I have a camera running face detection in my Symmetry CompleteView demonstration, and it literally detects a face. I call it better than motion detection, right? So it will filter out anything that doesn't have a human face and just present to you motion of human faces. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't say that that particular face belongs to Joe Smith, right? Facial recognition, you can feed a database of faces in there, and it will recognize if a face matches against your pre-configured database. So very, very powerful capability. Then you have Athena and Accutate across the top. Some of the core technologies these analytics providers allow for are firearm detection, right? Visual firearm detection. It's a little different than gunshot detection. Gunshot detection works off of audio, and it listens for the sound of a gunshot, and it also only works after the gun's been fired. Visual firearms detection looks for the picture of a firearm in the video and gives you a little more runway to respond to an incident because it's before the gun went off, presumably, okay? BrainChip is a very interesting analytics platform. You can feed an image into it. It will look across all of your cameras and all of your recorded video for that image, right? So you had somebody walk the wrong way through the exit of an airport, and now you have somebody who hasn't been security screened in the secure part of the airport. You need to find that person right away and make sure they get out of there and go through security screening. BrainChip put a picture of that person in the system, and it instantly locates them across all the cameras in your deployment. One of the cool stories about this analytic provider is they were able to find a bank robber. They pulled video of the bank robbery, and the person had a very unique, it turned out to be a mustard stain on the person's shirt. So they fed that in the system, searched the cameras in a several block radius, and identified the location of the suspect using that method. It's very cool. BriefCam, fantastic, very popular analytics system, most well known for their synopsis capability, where they can identify objects in recorded video and the properties of those objects and allow you to filter. So if you need to find the man in the blue shirt that ran left, it will locate just that particular segment of video with the object matching that criteria across a sea of video that you upload in the system. Kiwi Security has a whole bunch of object and behavior detection analytics. They also have the ability to obscure faces in video. So if you're concerned about GDPR or similar type regulations, that might be a good product to look at. Mango, other object and behavior recognition analytics. ProHawk enhances video. So if you have video that is obstructed by low light, by weather conditions, ProHawk might be the right product. And Sequester, very similar to BrainChip, you can search across multiple cameras with an image in the system. So server-based analytics is a very powerful way to enhance your system and alert you of activity. And then there's also camera-based analytics. I talked a lot about how Symmetry CompleteView integrates with a variety of camera manufacturers. We have deep direct driver integrations that benefits us many ways. All the cameras that you see on screen here, we integrate with their on-camera events. In the case of Acti and Aircon Vision, it's inputs, outputs, motion detection. In the case of Axis, Bosch, FLIR, Hanwha, Hikvision, Sony, and Vivotech, we also integrate with all the onboard analytics. And when an analytic triggers, it fires off an event in Symmetry CompleteView, which can pop up video on screen. It can send an email notification. It can trigger recording. It can perform a number of actions. Swing around a PTZ camera to a preset position. Anything you want to have happen can be programmed in the system. So very cool capability. And usually these camera-based analytics come included with the camera. So you already have the feature. You may already have the feature. It's just a matter of configuring it and leveraging it with their video management platform. Okay, last but not least, we have an upcoming release. We're planning for end of Q4, beginning of Q1. I anticipate this will come out in January. That's our target, January 2020. The next release of Symmetry CompleteView will be version 5.2, and it's an exciting release. We're releasing a fresh TouchView mobile client for iOS platforms. So if you have an Apple iPhone or iPad, we'll have a fresh new look and feel. In fact, you can see a screenshot of that. I took that screenshot on my iPhone just this morning. So that's what it's going to look like. It'll mirror the look and feel and workflow of the desktop client. We're also coming out with a new HTML5-based web client, which is going to have that same look and feel as well. So now across, no matter what platform you are looking at your video on with Symmetry CompleteView, you're going to have the same user experience. So we're very excited. Another important feature, we're localizing the product. We're going to be coming out with Spanish language support in this version, so stay tuned with that. Okay, now we want to cover some questions. We're running close to the end of the time here. So if you have a question, please go ahead and type it into the questions box or the chat box, and we will address the question. If we don't get to your question during the course of the presentation, we'll follow up with you by email afterwards, okay? So, okay, a question here on the analytics capabilities of Symmetry CompleteView. Will you be sharing more info on the analytics capabilities? Great question. So that probably came in right before the end of the presentation. Yeah, it came in earlier in the presentation. So hopefully those slides gave you an idea of what you can integrate with Symmetry CompleteView. We're always adding more and more analytics platforms that can integrate. Effectively what happens is, whether it's a server-based analytic or a camera-based analytic platform, when the analytic platform detects an event or behavior that you're looking for, what it does is it triggers what we call an alarm event associated with a camera in Symmetry CompleteView. Let me break out of the presentation here real quick, and I'm going to come to the live view area. And I'm going to try to show you what that looks like. So let me pull up my Office feed here. I'm going to manually trigger an alarm event in Symmetry CompleteView here. And okay, so you see that camera flashing yellow on the map. That's what it would look like in Symmetry CompleteView. So you see visual activity indicator, okay? There's a color code up in the corner of the title bar of the camera. You can see it says schedule and it's green. That would be yellow, indicating alarm activity. The alarm event can also trigger PTZ movement on other cameras. It can trigger a output to open. It can trigger an email notification. It will create a log entry on the server. It will tell us down here in this events window, and it can trigger recording to occur. So you can do any or all of those things when that analytic fires, and that's what manifests in the integrated solution. So very powerful set of capabilities. And when we do have an integration, it integrates with the full feature set of the analytics provider. So if there's another analytics provider that is interesting for your particular deployment, don't hesitate to reach out to us at AMAG with that provider, and we're always trying to add new ones that are interesting to our user community. So another question here about failover capability. We talked a little bit about failover capability in this presentation. Effectively, what the failover does is it fails over a recording server. So if you have a recording server that fails for any reason, all of the cameras that are recording that recording server will be pushed over to a new recording server, and they'll begin recording to the standby server that you deploy, right? So you'd want, if you have, let's say, 3 servers at a location, you may add a 4th server. The 4th server is a standby server. It's not active, but it becomes active when one of the 3 servers fails. That ratio of active to standby servers can be whatever you want. It can be 1-to-1, it can be 3-to-1, it can be 5-to-1. Just depends on your budget and the level of risk that you want to tolerate. And it will also switch over active client connections. So if you're watching video from the failed recording server, it will shut off on your screen for a moment as the failover process takes place, and then it will become active again. You don't have to log out or log in or perform any activities to the user. It's all automated in the system. I have another question down here. I'm going to combine to this question, which asks, does failover require failover licenses? That's a great question. So the way failover is licensed in Symmetry CompleteView is you simply need to have an active license on the standby server for the number of cameras that may fail over at any given time. So let me give you an example. Let's say I have 3 recording servers at a site, and those recording servers are recording a total of 180 cameras, so that's 60 cameras per recording server. If I want to deploy a failover server, the failover server is going to protect against any one of those recording servers failing, right? Each of the recording servers has 60 licenses, so the failover server also needs 60 licenses. It does not need 180 licenses because only 1 out of the 3 servers will fail at any given time. It just needs 60. And that's how it's licensed. Very, very simple licensing scheme, follows the normal licensing process of Symmetry CompleteView. If you have any questions on that, please reach out to your AMAG counterpart and we'll help go through the detail of that. Are there step-by-step instructions for the video wall? Is another question. Yeah, great question. We do have the video wall documented, how to set it up. It's very simple to set up. There's a video wall agent. In fact, you can see it right down here. Actually, no, sorry, that's a different icon for a different thing. There's a video wall agent icon that sits down in the system tray, and you install the video wall agent on a computer that you want to be controlled by the video wall. So let me actually show you. Okay, so here's a video wall demonstration video, and you can see in this example there's 4 computers. Each of the 4 computers is hosting 4 monitors, and this little icon down here I'm mousing over with, that's an agent. That's agent software gets installed in this computer. This agent software communicates with the Symmetry CompleteView management server and says, okay, I have a computer here with 4 screens that I'm going to share as part of the video wall. And when the user and the client actually drags and drops, it tells the management server, which then tells this little agent software to display a particular camera or a particular view layout or map on the corresponding screen. So effectively, the setup involves installing that agent software on the computer that's going to be controlled as part of the video wall, and then linking it with the digital representation of the video wall in the client itself. And I can kind of show you an example of that here as well. I'm going to go ahead and show my video wall panel. And you can see I have an example video wall down here. It's a 8-panel video wall. And if I were to drag a camera and drop it, it would show up on the corresponding physical screen. This panel is linked to one of the monitors that is shared through that video wall agent on a separate computer. So we have that documentation. We can follow up with you with that specific documentation so you can see it. With respect to the license plate recognition, what number of plate databases does the software support? Great question. The software can support up to 5 different categories of plate databases. So if you're looking for plates that are VIP customers or employees or not authorized, you can define all those categories up to 5 in the license plate recognition software. And what LPR camera models does it support? Great question. It's most frequently integrated with INEX LPR camera technologies, as well as Hanwha cameras that use the Arteco LPR plugin. I believe there's a few others supported. We have a data sheet on that. We can provide that information to you, but those are the most popular integrated models. Okay, last question here. This is about hardware requirements with Symmetry CompleteView. Great question. So the hardware requirements, the way you can think of hardware requirements with Symmetry CompleteView is you need to identify what the computational effort required is and what the storage required is, right? So if you have a whole bunch of cameras you need to record for a long period of time, there's kind of 2 components. Can the CPU support all those cameras, and can the storage record the video for the necessary length of time? We have hardware platforms that scale from very entry level to very enterprise. And just to give you an idea of the scale we have at the entry level, the power of Symmetry Power Choice, it scales to, it's hard to define exactly how many cameras it scales to, because obviously you can fit more, let's say 720p cameras than you can fit 1080p or 4K resolution cameras. And it also varies based on your frame rate. But that platform from a storage standpoint scales up to 8 terabytes. Then we go all the way down to the enterprise class, and we have what we call the Symmetry Power Platinum. That product scales to a tremendous number of cameras, and you can actually scale the storage up to almost half a petabyte. Natively in the box, you can have up to 192 terabytes of usable storage after the RAID 5 capability is applied. And then you can plug in direct attached storage to take it from 192 terabytes up to over 470 terabytes, and that's usable RAID 5 storage on that platform. So the suggestion is, if you have a camera recording configuration, plug that into the Symmetry Design Tool Wizard. It will tell you different options of hardware configurations that you can utilize with the Symmetry CompleteView software. Otherwise, contact your AMAG sales counterpart, and we can walk you through or design the system using the Design Tool Wizard for you and present those options. So there's a couple of different paths there. So last question here, somebody asked about recording the webinar. Yes, we are recording the webinar, and we'll provide a link to that to everyone who attended. So if you have a colleague who would benefit, please provide them with the link to the recording once we distribute that to you. So I want to wrap up now and just say thank you to everyone so much for your time today. We appreciate you logging to the webinar here. We hope this was a benefit. We'll have that recorded link out to you, and congratulations in advance. 3 of you will have won one of the prizes that were given away, the AMAG pullover or one of the $200 gift cards. So we'll be linking up with you by email following the webinar. Thanks everybody for your time and attention. We appreciate it.